Good morning, church.
Good morning.
My name is Juniper Efaminko, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. On behalf of this congregation, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Huntsville. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of Native tribes. Whether you have joined us online or are here in our sanctuary, we are so glad that you have chosen to be with us together in this sacred time. We are an open community of learning, caring, and justice making. You are welcome here, every part of you, just the way you are. Our congregation is served by the minister, the Reverend Jamie Dingus. She is available by contacting the office for pastoral care and to answer questions about Unitarian Universalism. If you are a newcomer, please sign our guest book in the foyer at the back of our auditorium to receive our weekly email newsletter. In the foyer, underneath the name tag display, are hearing assist devices available for anyone who needs them. Please also take a moment to silence your electronic devices. And if you have a joy, sorrow, or important milestone that you would like shared during our circle of candles and included in our pastoral prayer, please write it on one of the white cards in the pew in front of you and place it in the offering basket at the appropriate time. For community news, check our email newsletter, website, and the paper insert in your order of service. There's a number of additional announcements there, so definitely check that out. This week, just as a reminder, after the service, everyone is welcome to join us in the fellowship hall here for coffee and snacks. Now, I would like to invite Antonio to ring the singing bowl to help us enter into our service more deeply. Finally, having gathered in a shared quest for truth, meaning, and purpose, let us light our chalice with these words. Listen to your elders' advice, not because they are always right, but because they have more experiences being wrong. And now, let us enter into this morning's service more deeply with music for centering, followed by our thread song, Find a Stillness, number 352 in your gray hymnal.
Good morning, friends. Welcome in, welcome here to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Huntsville. My name is Reverend Jamie Dingus. My pronouns are she and her, and it is my privilege, as always, to welcome you into our time of worship, whether you've gathered with us in our sanctuary or you're joining us live on YouTube. Thank you for being with us this morning. Let's center in with these words from Katie Romano Griffith. Come, let us enter this space of hope and community. Come, let us enter this space with our sorrows, our joys, our passion, and compassion. Let us enter this space with the stories of our ancestors, for their strength and wisdom beats in our hearts. Come into this space, present to the beloved companions who move beside us. Come into this space, mindful that together we are building a future for other generations. Come. Now let us worship together. And now I'd invite you to rise in body or in spirit to sing our opening hymn. It's number 1001, which is the first song in our teal hymnal. This song challenges us to listen beyond the ordinary to the quiet whispers of the ancestors and the world around us. Please join me in singing number 1001.
Listen more often to things and to beings. Listen more often to things and to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Whoosh, whoosh. Those who have died have never left. The dead are not under the earth. They are in the rustling trees. They are in the groaning woods. They are in the crying grass. They are in the moaning rocks. The dead are not under the earth. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Whoosh, whoosh. Those who have died have never left. The dead are packed with the living. They are in the woman's breast. They are in the wailing child. They are with us in our homes. They are with us in this crowd. The dead have a pact with the living. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Whoosh, 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 whoosh.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Each week following our first hymn, we remain risen and we sing our doxology, which is in both English and in Spanish, and we speak together our words of aspiration. When we get to that moment, our practice is to turn and face one another so that we might speak those words as words of commitment in our community. Let's sing. be the spirit of this church. May the quest for truth be its sacrament and service be its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration. You may be seated. And now I'd like to invite forward our children and youth and anyone who'd like to come forward for our story for all ages, led by our Director of Religious Education, Jess Zelaya. Come on up, friends.
Good morning, all. Today we're going to read the book Always Remember by C.C. Ming, illustrated by Jago. In the inn, on his very last day, Old Turtle swam his last swim and took his last breath. With his life complete, the gentle waves took him away. By dawn, everyone who knew Old Turtle knew he was gone. The turtles playing in the reef remembered how he taught them to swim. Old Turtle had been a good teacher. And the turtles would always remember. The broad-backed humpback whale remembered how Old Turtle swam alongside her and kept her company when she became separated from her pod. Old Turtle had been a good friend. And the whale would always remember. The sea otters remembered how Old Turtle would dive and play with them and make them laugh. Old Turtle had loved to have fun. And the otters would always remember. The dolphins remembered how Old Turtle was curious about the unknown and bravely swam far out to sea. Old Turtle explored the darkest of the waters and discovered glittery jewels to show his friends. And the dolphins would always remember. Once a terrible storm tossed and turned the ocean for long days and nights. A starfish was torn away from her rock and swept away. When the waves became calm again, Old Turtle looked for her and found her and carried her home. And the starfish would always remember. When Old Turtle found a manatee tangled in a fishing net, he snipped and pulled and would not stop until the manatee was free. The manatee told the story to his children, and they told the story to their children. Old Turtle would never be forgotten. Once upon a time, there was an old turtle. He was a wonderful teacher and friend. He loved to laugh and have fun. He explored the unknown and discovered great things. He showed kindness and strength, and he made his world a better place. When he was done, the ocean took him back. But what he left behind was only the beginning. The end. Have any of you ever lost someone that you remember? Yes? I have something to help you remember. So if you each want to come up and get your very own old turtle. And you can write the names on them of someone that you have lost. Here you go, Avery.
Like somebody's gone.
Anybody that you've lost, you can write their names on them. And then you will have a memory, something to remember them by. You can write it on his belly. Okay, we can sing our children out now.
We are the Unitarian Universalist Church of Huntsville, a proudly inclusive spiritual community. Together, we build a broader search for meaning, a bolder form of compassion, and a braver voice for justice. If you would like to support us with a monetary contribution, we would be grateful. Your generosity helps us to keep the utilities on, maintain our buildings and grounds, run our various ministries, pay our staff a fair wage, and support organizations that share our UU values. You can donate online using the QR code in your order of service, or you can put cash or check donations in the offering baskets. Completed Circle of Candles cards should also be placed in the offering baskets at this time. You are also invited to come forward during this time and quietly drop a stone into the bowl of water here next to the ramp in honor or memory of what you hold in your heart. It is through your generosity that we serve our mission here at UUCH. With gratitude, we now receive the offering.
Friends, will you join me for a time of meditation, reflection, and prayer? Spirit of life, great love moving amongst us and between us, be with us in this time where we hold in our hearts our joys, our sorrows, and all those big, important changes that make the turns and twists of our lives. Our lives have joys so bright we must share them in community. I invite you to bring to mind a joy that is lifting you up this week. I'll add joy and gratitude to everyone who made the trunk or treat event last night such a delightful success. We had children all over our parking lot in safe, fun community, and it was a beautiful thing to behold. And our lives have sorrows too heavy to hold alone. I invite you to bring to mind a sorrow in your life, something that you're holding. To that, we add prayers for our country, for our world, and for the places where pain and suffering are most felt. Places like Gaza, Lebanon, Sudan. We hold them in care and love this morning. And we know we need silence to hold what is too tender to share aloud, so let's take a breath of silence together. Grateful for this time of connection, for Spirit moving between us, and for an opportunity to hold joys and sorrows in community. Let's say blessed be and amen. And sing in response hymn number 1009, Meditation on Breathing. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Our reading this morning is called Love Does Not Disappear by the Reverend Elliot Kemmler. It begins with a quote from Reverend Molly Hausch-Gordon. Mysterious source of love, moving within and between and among us, upholding and connecting all, the living, the dead, and the generations yet to come. We give thanks for the web of all creation, strands interwoven, and for the gifts of love which can never be ungiven or unraveled. In the 18 years I've served as minister of my small town congregation, Reverend Kemmler says, I have led 96 memorial services, most of them for people I loved. I didn't realize how much the deaths would hurt. The longer I stay, the deeper I love, and the more I grieve. This seems so obvious, but I was surprised by it. Another surprise has been how our beloved dead seem to make themselves known, how they seem to linger with us for a little while. Once after a memorial service, everyone left the church and gathered on the sidewalk in the sunlight of a still summer afternoon. As we stood there, a huge gust of wind blew down the street. We could see it coming almost like a tumbleweed. And for maybe 5 seconds, the wind was all around us and over us. We turned and watched the gust blow down the street, and then it was completely still again. "There she goes," someone said. Another time, I was about to lead the memorial service for a man who shared a love of butterflies with his wife. Their home was filled with images of butterflies, and we'd put a photo of one on the program. As I stood at the church door, a huge orange and black butterfly circled around me 3 times, above my head and around my shoulders, and then it flew away. When I told his wife about it, she nodded. "Butterflies have been all around me since he died," she said. Last spring, a beloved elder died who believed he would be reincarnated as a red-tailed hawk. I told the congregation about his death at a Sunday morning service, and I had taped a picture of a red-tailed hawk on the front pew where he always sat. Several people told me later that as I was making this announcement, they were looking out the sanctuary windows and saw a large hawk soaring above the church. Over the years, I've heard many stories about dragonflies and rainbows and love songs coming on the radio at just the right moment. Maybe it is just a coincidence. Maybe we're looking for signs and so we find them. But maybe those we love are nearer to us than we realize. Maybe love is vaster than the limits of our understanding. I believe that it is. So friends, it may come as no surprise to you to learn that I am a bit of a Swiftie. I love Taylor Swift. I'm so jealous of everyone in New Orleans this weekend. I love her music, the community she's built around her fans, and I admire the way her storytelling pulls me into each new song. This morning, I'm going to share with you a favorite off her album, Evermore, which came out in December of 2020. What you may not know about the magnificent pop star Taylor Swift is that her grandmother was a professional opera singer who was successful in her own right. She, Marjorie, the namesake of this song, died when Taylor was 13 and just beginning to make her start in her music journey, long before she would become the most powerful figure in the music industry. And in this song, Taylor shares her grandmother's wisdom and the lessons she hopes to hold on to. And you can almost hear Marjorie singing in the background. Never be so kind, you forget to be clever. Never be so clever, you forget to be kind. And if I didn't know better, I think you were talking to me now. If I didn't know better, I think you were still around. What died didn't stay dead. What died didn't stay dead. You're alive in my head. What died didn't stay dead. What died didn't stay dead. You're alive, so alive. Never be so polite, you forget your power. Never wield such power, you forget to be polite. And if I didn't know better, I think you were. Listen to me now. And if I didn't know better, were still around. What died didn't stay dead. What died didn't stay dead. You're alive in my head. What died didn't stay dead. What died didn't stay dead. You're alive, so alive. The autumn chill that wakes me up. You love the amber sky so much. Long limbs and frozen swims. You'd always go past where our feet could touch. And I complained the whole way there. The car ride back and up the stairs. I shouldn't have asked you questions. I shouldn't have asked you how to be. Asked you to write it down for me. Should have kept every grocery store receipt, 'cause every scrap of you would be taken from me. Watched as you signed your name, Marjorie. All your closets of backlog dreams, and how you left them all to me. What died didn't stay dead. What died didn't stay dead. You're alive in my head. What died didn't stay dead. What died didn't stay dead. You're alive, so alive. And if I didn't know better, I think you were singing to me now. If I didn't know better, I think you were still around. I know better, but I still feel you all around. I know better, but you're still around. Be clever and kind, polite and powerful. Find the balance and find the joy. In these short lines, the wisdom of an ancestor appears again, and what was long gone returns, reimagined in a new way. It is a beautiful cyclical dance, this human life of ours, and who we are is changed fundamentally by those who came before us. Even through death, those we love are nearer to us than we might realize. Maybe love itself is vaster than the limits of our understanding. Often, when I think about life and death, I think of these words by the Reverend Kenneth Collier. He writes, "I do not know where we go when we die. And I do not know what the soul is, or what death is, or when, or why. What I know is that the song once sung cannot be unsung, and the life once lived cannot be unlived, and the love once loved cannot be unloved." This is at my core what I believe about death and what Unitarian Universalism offers us. I do not know where we go, or if we go anywhere at all, when our human bodies die. I do not know for sure if some part of us, be it soul or spirit or spark or consciousness or something else, stays alive and personified after our bodies stop living. I suspect not, but I have no need to know that one yet. I do not know if we get reincarnated or go to an afterlife or simply break down into carbon and nitrogen and hydrogen to enrich the soil. But what I do know, what I know for certain, is that the lives we live matter. The stories we tell, the songs we sing, the lessons we leave behind, it matters. Our existence makes a mark on this world that changes it. And we are a part of a lineage where the living die to be inducted as ancestors, and the ancestors become immortal reminders, teachers, and guides for how to live. Whether they reach us in those unbelievable moments, the gust of wind barreling down the street, the red cardinal perched in the tree, the sign at the crossroads of our lives, or whether they reach us in the ordinary moments, the life lessons, the writings, the art, the science, the theology, wherever they find us, we are for the better for their wisdom, if only we remember to listen. So who are our ancestors? Traditionally, we understand ancestors as those who come before us in our families of blood or our families of love. I'd invite you to think about your ancestors. What lessons stay with you from their lives? I'd like to share 2 lessons from 2 of my ancestors. My mom's dad, Grampy Paul, who lived near us and spent most of his days at our house when I was growing up, lived a life of practicality and hard work. He believed that it was always better to fix what you had than to buy something new, and not from a lack of resources, but from a commitment to living gently on this earth. He wore his button-down shirts until they were so ridiculously threadbare that they were nearly see-through. He found ways to mend everything, adding metal reinforcements to the backs of our cheap plastic lawn chairs to get another season out of them, and dutifully washing and drying plastic Ziploc bags so as not to waste. I suspect much of this way of life was because of his Great Depression-era childhood. But the lesson still connects. This reminder to live gently on the earth, to try not to waste what we have. That lesson rings true. Another ancestor of mine, my dad's mother, Granny Jean, had a different life lesson to share. She was the prototypical granny, an embodiment of sweetness and Southern hospitality, and she made it a practice to make sure that every person around her knew that they were special. You could not tell a joke that was not the funniest joke she'd ever heard in her life. You could not make a side dish or set the table without hearing just how delicious or particularly well-organized it was. You could not go on a visit without being reminded that in her eyes, you were spectacular, and particularly so much more spectacular than she could ever be, which was not true. It sounds corny and a little self-deprecating, and it often was, but who among us doesn't appreciate that reminder now and again? You are special. You matter. What you contribute to this world makes the world better, and it makes my life better. People need to hear that. It matters to remember to say it. Will you take a moment now to think again of that ancestor? What did they teach you? What are you still learning from their whispered wisdom? And beloveds, I believe that ancestors need not be biologically related to us to be a part of our lineage. Our ancestors can be the artists who inspire us, who have now passed on, whose creative works influence our own. I know in this community we have an abundance of scientists and engineers. Each of you is a part of a lineage of scientists and engineers who came before you, whose work you build on or rethink or debunk or explore. As a minister, I find ancestry in the voices of theologians whose thoughts and beliefs shape my own. This week, theology gained an ancestor when Father Gustavo Gutierrez passed away at the age of 96. Gustavo Gutierrez was a Catholic priest who served in extraordinarily poor communities in South America, and he founded a movement and a way of thinking called liberation theology. And this idea is that, at its core, is that God loves and cares about those who are poor and experiencing suffering, and God has a preferential option for those who are in that space. In an article about his life, Franco Ecumeni recounts that Gutierrez published his most influential book, A Theology of Liberation, History, Politics, and Salvation, in 1971, arguing that genuine liberation unfolds in three dimensions. First, political and social liberation addresses and eliminates the immediate causes of poverty and injustice. Second, the poor, marginalized, and oppressed are freed from conditions that limit their capacity for dignified self-development. Third, these communities are liberated then from selfishness and can restore broken relationships with God and others. At its simplest, liberation theology calls on the church, with its resources and its organizational capacity and political influence, to advocate for the poor, because the poor have inherent worth and dignity and deserve an opportunity to thrive, regardless of the systems in place that keep them down. And though we are not Catholic, Gutierrez's work is part of our spiritual ancestry that will help guide us in our own work toward liberation for the world. Beloveds, there are whispers of ancestors all around us. In lessons learned and taught and passed down through the generations, the ancestors are still speaking. Whatever we know or don't know about death and life, the truth is this: the life and love of those before us never truly leaves, and it is our privilege in this life to build on the shoulders of those who came before us. And one day, you and I and each of us will join these ancestors. And so we ought to strive now in our living to be good ancestors, wise ancestors, leaving a song of love for those who will come next. In this way, those who have died are never truly gone, and the love that is ours to give will continue on and on. Blessed be, and amen. Let us move now into a moment of ritual, a time where we will name and honor those beloveds from within our community and our larger life, our families who have died. We set this time aside to speak the names, to remember the stories and lessons of those whose lives have touched ours in large and small ways. We do this because we know that we are constituted in and through our relationships. We believe in an invisible string knitting us all together in community. Those whom we have loved are in the very fabric of our lives, in the gentle breezes and whispering winds, in the plants and the soil and the web of life growing around us, in our laughter and our tears. Let us open our hearts and speak aloud into this space the names of our ancestors, those who have died recently and long ago, who have shaped our lives. Let's hold some silence and begin speaking their names. Grampy Paul, Granny Jean. May we always feel these connections deeply. May we find signs and symbols, lessons and love from our departed in all of our days. May we not fear death, for it is a natural part of this miraculous cycle of life. And it is not the end, so long as we remember and reflect on those who are gone. Blessings to those who remember. Blessings to us all. Friends, as we move toward the close of our service, I'd invite you once more to rise in body or in spirit to sing our closing song. It's number 1051 in your teal hymnal. Like our first hymn this morning, it has a variety of repeats. We're attempting to make it just a smidge simpler for you, so here's the roadmap. You'll take the first repeat as written, then you totally ignore the second repeat, don't take that one, and then the last time we'll sing it twice, or the last repeating section, we'll sing that twice through. Clear as mud? Don't worry, I'm on the mic, so just follow me. Please rise in body or in spirit for 1051.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Beautiful.
Let us now take a moment to extinguish our chalice with these words from queer elder, ancestor, and activist Sylvia Rivera. We have to do it because we can no longer stay invisible. We have to be visible. We should not be ashamed of who we are. We have to show the world we are numerous. There are many of us out there.
Thank you, Juniper. Friends, our worship time now comes to a close. I will be at the back of the sanctuary to greet you, and everyone is invited to stick around after the service for coffee and snacks and conversation. For now, let's leave this time of worship with these words from Leah Derlin Jones. For those who came before us, we offer gratitude and thanks. May their memories be a blessing. May we feel surrounded by their love. As we go forth from this time and place, let us be inspired by their courage, their wisdom, and their dreams. Let us honor them by doing the work of living boldly, loving mightily, and creating heaven on earth. Amen. Blessed be, and let's go out singing our rite of community, 1039, Be Thou With Us. Blessed be, and go in peace.